But let's keep moving on here to a trade that happened this offseason that seems to be showing these teams heading in two different directions. The New York
Lord.
Knicks and Minnesota Timberwolves. Karl Anthony Towns for Julius Randle. What did you think initially when this trade happened?
I thought that the Knicks would win the trade.
Mm-hmm.
I like the fact that this kind of felt like, okay, now they're really trying to, that they're taking a page from the Wolves did when they're trying to put a team together. That how the Wolves try to put a team together to beat the Nuggets, where the Knicks trying to put a team together to beat the Celtics. You add a
Yep,
big
yep.
now who can able to stretch the defense. You know what I'm saying? But he's not really a Tibbs guy, so I mean, the Tibbs would really want to have him again. But they brought him in, so I kind of liked it. I did think that they kind of like hurt their depth though, losing my man DiVincenzo.
Hartenstein.
So yeah, and then obviously they lost Hartenstein too to the OKC. So I'm like, okay, but I thought that they're going to be probably top 3 team in the Eastern Conference, and they'll probably be pretty good. They'll be a learning curve and everything, which is playing out so far this season. But I think by the time playoff comes around, they're going to be really tough to beat, as long as they're healthy. Timberwolves, I'm just like, man, this team that's a bad trade. Not a fan of Julius Randle per se, and I just thought that Julius Randle playing with Edwards doesn't make any sense because the fact that he's a ball stopper, where a thing like that, the ball in his hand, that's going to cause so much friction, I think, between them and the team and everything. And the fact that he's not really a consistent 3-point shooter, that's not going to help as well. Even Tenzo's a great addition off the bench. Don't get me wrong, but Randle being there and then losing Cat kind of like took away from anything special. Having like 2 bigs. Like you see when they did how they kind of threw like Joker off his game in the playoffs, right?
Yep,
That was like their like secret weapon, like their secret power.
The
Now it's all
best.
gone now. So now there's like an average team.
I am no Karl Anthony Towns fan. That was the best he looked in the playoffs for a little bit against that Denver Nuggets team. He was playing defense. He was trying. Give him kudos. He has taken off in New York, 25-13. I'm shocked by how good it is because obviously he's not great on the defensive end for them. They weren't looking for that. But this evolution of Tibbs, I want to say, just getting more modernized, getting more spacing on the floor. He's not like that. That's not what he does. So for him to actually input guys like McBride and OG and Mikal Bridges and influence, of course, with Karl Anthony Towns, this 3-point shooting from the New York Knicks, that's not what Tibbs is about. He's not like that. So to see him do that and change with the addition of Karl Anthony Towns, kudos to him for that as well. But this team, the Minnesota Timberwolves, basically shot themselves in the foot. You already gave Anthony Edwards Rudy Gobert, who only does so much offensively. Maybe he can finish on the rim. I've seen him be guarded by Dennis Schroeder in the Olympics. I'm never going to forget that. It's not going to happen. Draymond Green crossed him up last night and got a dunk on the hoop to seal the game. I'm not making this up. You can look up on YouTube. You can look up the highlights. Draymond Green crossed him up, ISO'd him. The person who he choked out last year, he ISO'd him at the top of the key, crossed up a defensive player of the year, and dunked at the hoop. This is Draymond Green, ladies and gentlemen. That's all I'm going to say about that. But the Minnesota Timberwolves, what they did was take away the spacing from Anthony Edwards. And you're losing a guy like Cat. Dante DiVincenzo's been struggling shooting the 3 this year, but he's picking it up a little bit. But overall, Anthony Edwards has taken it upon himself that now I got to create the spacing for the rest of the team. That's why he's taking nearly 11 threes a game this season. That's insane. Mm-hmm. That's Steph Curry, like that's Klay Thompson. Like only those guys shoot that many threes. Maybe that's Trae Young, a LaMelo Ball. Anthony Edwards is shooting 10 threes a game. Now he's making 42%, which is awesome. But you don't want your best player taking that much threes, especially a guy like Anthony Edwards, who's probably better in the ISO situation, getting to the basket, finishing at the rim. He now has to create that spacing. Now you add Julius Randle, who's shooting 36% this year from 3, putting up 20.7 rebounds, 4 assists. He's not the greatest defensively either on that end. So it's like now you don't have a guy that's 7 feet. Now you don't have a guy that's protecting the rim. And that's the thing that made them special, that they can go to Rudy Gobert, they can go to Karl Anthony Towns, they can go to Naz Reid. And now you kind of restricted Ant in the creativity. And another thing about this team, obviously they got the rookie. Let me look him up. I keep forgetting his name. Dillingham. They got the trade from the Spurs. They brought him in. They gave up some assets for him. He's trying to catch on and try to get up to speed. Mike Conley has been in and out. And I'm just like, why didn't this team go after Tyrus Jones? Tyrus Jones sat out there all off season and ended up going to Phoenix where he's playing well right now. And I'm like, how many teams needed a point guard? And why didn't they go get him? I don't understand that. So that's another standpoint where he has to now Anthony Edwards has to create the spacing, the playmaking for this team. And it's like, I just don't see it. He's already rubbing. He's saying we're a bunch of kids here. He's saying stuff in the media. Things are not well in Minnesota despite having a 12-11 record. The Knicks are only 14-9, but it looks vastly different on both ends for the point of this trade. Like, it looks vastly different on both ends. And I'm just like, Minnesota, man, they were so close. Building this team up, doing things the right way, and they panicked and made a trade that I don't think they should have made.
But I think too, part of the reasoning for making that trade was to try to avoid the second apron. It's going to come down the line. I think that's probably the main reason why. But damn, man, it's just like this team was like in the Western Conference Finals last year. I think they took like several steps back. I don't know. I can see them being one and done in the postseason. I can see that right now. The way they're playing, I can see that happening.
And another thing too, you see how the Western Conference is. It's like it's Memphis. We talked about it. OKC. It's Houston and Dallas. Really, Golden State's in the 5th position. You guys couldn't be a top seed in the West right now if you had Karl Anthony Towns. And look at what he's doing with the New York Knicks, who are not playing great defense. You guys were tops in the league on defense last year. I understand they're trying to avoid the second apron, but it's like. And maybe they're even talking about not even bringing back Julius Randle, but it's like, what do you do once that gap is gone? What do you do once you don't have a Karl Anthony Towns? Once you even lose Julius Randle to free agency or trade or whatever the case may be, who are you getting back for him?
Exactly.
Like, I just don't understand that. Obviously, they want to get out of the money situation, but it's like you guys can't even be in a position to add anybody to help you guys after that. So I understand it. The second apron, Ferris, it really has hindered a lot of teams around the league from making moves, and maybe that's what the NBA wanted to do. Maybe stop having so much traffic around the league and guys moving like that. But it's like you guys really shot yourselves in the foot on this one. Really shot yourselves in the foot. But let's keep moving on.